It was exciting to see Tal Shaked joining Snowflake after more than 16 years at Google. Uh, Something that's fascinating about Tal's life is that in 2004, in those days when the world was learning about MapReduce, he was already doing machine learning at Google. So I called Tal to ask him why he chose Snowflake. And here to answer this and other questions, Tal Shaked himself. Let me ask first, how was it to work in machine learning back in 2004, way before the world started paying attention and seeing now that it's such a hot topic?
So it's nice to see the world coming around. Uh, I was always a fan of machine learning and AI. In fact, I remember even back in undergrad, I was working on a undergrad thesis, and I was kind of I was applying to grad schools. I said, oh, I think I'm interested in ML AI, and my advisor at the time says, ah, you'll get over that after a little bit later. Kind of implying that there wasn't really that much there. When I joined Google, I kind of saw that there was so much data, there were so many hard problems, and there were these really complex heuristics that we use for doing ranking functions, right? And and I kind of thought, oh, this can't be the most efficient way. We have all these humans trying to optimize some objective function, and none of these humans, none of us can really process all the data and come up with the best function. And so that's really where I thought machine learning could be a big differentiator, right? And so back in 2004, I was super excited. I was working with some of the world's best people in machine learning, trying to say, can we bring machine learning to ranking for web search? And I think the answer, yeah, clearly we have now. But I think back then the answer was yes, we could too. But it was difficult. Not everyone was bought in. There was a lot of uncertainty about how you could understand and control machine learning. And I think that was really great. That helped me kind of learn how powerful machine learning is, but also how hard it is to use it and get a big success out of it. And so, back then, I felt like I was against the tide a little bit. It was much easier to do machine learning in places like ads and elsewhere where it was easier to measure the impact. But in places like ranking for web search, it was more challenging because it was a qualitative thing. Do we like the results? Do we think we can move faster in long term? And I don't think that the answer wasn't always yes in those cases. And so it's nice looking back now that now everyone wants to do machine learning. And now the challenge is how do we do it faster and how do we make it work even better? And we'll try extra hard to do it. While in the past, it was more, we had to prove ourselves. We had to prove that it's worth moving from a more manual system to a more machine learning system because we didn't have that experience or sort of belief that everything will be better once we start using more machine learning.
And you really proved yourself in this field, improving search in 2004 with Rank Boost, then building the platform that Google used to run most machine learning models in production, and building the foundations for TensorFlow Extended. Then in 2018, you went to Lyft, then you came back to Google, and then you started looking around. What made Snowflake stand out?
It's a good question. I considered probably 10 or so different places. And there were many things I saw at Snowflake, right? So there on the leadership side, I really connected with kind of the leaders of the company, the leaders on the engineering side in terms of the culture and the way that we make decisions, the leadership in terms of the founders, the passion in terms of really doing something innovative and transforming how people thought about data and now trying to do that in the machine learning space. So for me, I felt there'd be a good fit in terms of culture, engineering, product, all of that, right? I also looked at the technology side, right? And I'm not a data person in terms of my background experience. It's much more in the MLAI. And what I saw at Snowflake was there was sort of a new way to do, there's the data cloud. There's a new way to do data management in the cloud. There's, the ability to do data sharing. There's this notion of data gravity where applications and services move close to the data rather than having to constantly move data around to the applications and services. And I saw that, okay, this is really interesting, a new challenge. And the company has done an amazing job building a product in the data space. Now they want to expand. Now Snowflake wants to expand into sort of ML and AI. And this is an opportunity, I felt, to bring these together. In fact, I actually saw this in the past where, I previously was leading some teams focused on ML. And when we brought in people with expertise in the data side, we really did better together. And so I kind of felt at Snowflake there was an opportunity kind of to bring what we've done with it on data, think about what we can do with ML on top of this foundation.
Yeah, that is the foundation to build what's next. And you see Snowflake as a better place to build for everyone?
One of the reasons I joined Snowflake is when I talked to the founders, they told me a story that really resonated, which was when they were at Oracle, they were building, state-of-the-art technology in databases. But they were doing this for their top customers. And meanwhile, the rest of the world was happening around them. Open source, cloud, new ways of doing things. And, when they left Oracle to start Snowflake, they sort of entered a different part of the world with different technical challenges. And there was a whole new way to build things, right? And so it wasn't, the state of the art for the top 200 customers in the world. It was really making accessible to tens of thousands of companies throughout the whole world. And I felt I'm experiencing the same thing, when I contrast my experience at Google and Snowflake. At Google, if you want to just focus on machine learning for 100 billion parameters, you do that at a company like Google, right? But if you want to focus on how can we really make machine learning accessible to everyone, a company like Snowflake, I think, is really amazing for that.
Sure, but how can we make machine learning accessible to everyone?
Actually, when I say we, I actually feel that it's not just Snowflake, but it's the whole world working together. I'll give another example. There's so many companies in this space that are partnering together. There's many Snowflake partners, but and many companies we partner with, whether it's in the ML space, the data space, connectors, and so forth. In a place like in a bigger company, all those pieces are within the same company, and so they align. In a place like Snowflake, the whole world is working together so that all of these companies, these small companies, can move faster. And I think that's something that I didn't really appreciate until I have been at Snowflake for a while. And I actually see it's very interesting because there's more overlap, but there's also more innovation happening. And it's actually hard. It's hard for us within Snowflake, but it's also hard for our customers and partners to figure out which of those pieces to take to put together to build out, new underlying technologies and also new products.
Yeah, it's hard. What can we do at Snowflake to make this easier?
Company like Snowflake, we're building a foundation. There's data, we need to build a foundation, but ML is so big that people are going to need expertise, whether it's in finance, whether it's in life sciences, whether it's in recommendation systems. And even there, they're probably going to build different feature stores, different ML platforms, different end-to-end solutions. And then other companies will be using those, right? So I just think the space is really big. I think that Snowflake we can build on what we do really well, data sharing, clean rooms, building on top of the data cloud, data warehouse where everyone can share data with each other. And but I think there's still a lot of open questions about how exactly do we reach everyone in the world in the best way possible. My sense is that if we focus on end-to-end solutions, we'll get some good ones, but they'll work for narrow use cases. And if we build the right foundation, then by working with others, we can help sort of get the best experience end-to-end for everyone over time.
For everyone, for customers, and for partners. How is it different when they choose to work with Snowflake?
I feel that, a company like Snowflake that's growing really quickly, a lot depends on velocity. And a lot of our partners and a lot of our customers, they're growing quickly too, right? So I think we definitely are leaning towards how do we enable our customers to move faster in using ML and AI to solve their problems. And I'm contrasting this because some other companies who are more mature, there's a lot more kind of optimization, right? It's like, okay, give an example, how can we save or cut costs, right? As opposed to how can we grow faster? And so it's exciting to kind of be in a place where I would say, growth of Snowflake, but also growth of our partners and growth of our customers is really top of mind.
I love it. Let's move faster together. What would you tell other machine learning experts considering Snowflake?
This is really a great place where people can come in with a strong background in ML AI and help shape what's going to happen in a company that's already wildly successful in a related but slightly different area, right? And so, when I looked at that board, I kind of felt that, this is probably the place where my background can actually have the biggest impact, right? And I think this actually applies to many other people in the ML space, right? For all of you out there who've done ML, you've probably seen it in practice. And I think this is one of the, Snowflake is one of the places I think to have the biggest leverage in terms of taking those learnings and helping build a foundation, work with partners, work with customers to solve problems that need ML, and do it in a way that we're going to, reach thousands, tens of thousands of, different companies and people over time.
Thanks a lot, Tal. We are looking forward to what's next. I'm so glad that you chose Snowflake. And thank you too to all of our amazing teammates, customers, and partners. And you can join the Data Cloud too. For more on Tal, check the blog post we published on the Inside the Data Cloud blog. For now, I'm Felipe Hoffa, and this was an Excel Snowflake Bite.